Hello and welcome again to Voices, a media production of the Atlantic Caribbean Union, covering the territory of the Bahamas, the Cayman Islands, and the Turks and Caicos Islands. We are delighted for this broadcast to have with us the ADRA Director, ADRA Bahamas Director, Dr. Henry Munker. Welcome, Dr. Munker, to this particular broadcast, and we're happy to have you once again on Voices, though not in studio, but nevertheless being able to communicate via this particular platform. You are there in Grand Bahama, and we are here in Nassau. But it's good to be able to have this interaction with you, and we're looking forward to being able to once again be informed, updated, and also benefited from the information that you have with respect to what's been happening with ADRA. So to begin with, I guess we can start right there. How are things going with ADRA, and what has ADRA been doing since our last broadcast together?
Well, thank you, Pastor Smith. Good to be here with you in Voices again, and good to be able to be here to share with individuals what has been happening. I think it's been like over a year since we've been here sharing, and a lot has been transpiring within that period of time. Since we've been here, we've moved into dealing with some medium to long-term recovery from Hurricane Dorian. We've been working in the education sector in particular, in terms of helping to get schools back together, in terms of school rehabilitations. We've been trying to help teachers in terms of their homes, getting them back in their homes, in their various locales, because as you know, if teachers can get back into their homes, then students can't get back into the classroom. And so we've been rehabilitating in terms of teachers' homes as well. We've probably done over 17 schools we've done in terms of rehabilitation. We've done over 20 plus homes, close to 30 homes, just in terms of rehabilitation in regards to teachers' homes. We've done some additional homes outside of that because of some other donors who have been able to go beyond the education realm. But what has happened even in the midst of all of that, as you know, trying to deal with the recovery from Hurricane Dorian, all of a sudden we found ourselves having now to deal with the COVID-19 pandemic that literally just shut down everything. But even in the midst of that, we still had to be active and out of that experience because, as you know, schools were closed. And because of schools being closed, suddenly now you had children without that access to education. And so one of the things we did was we pivoted, and because we recognized that you had a vulnerable category of children who did not have access to the classroom through a virtual aspect, because the sad reality is, even here in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, we still have children who do not have the access to the internet. And so one of the things we did was we engaged in terms of looking at the most vulnerable students who did not have that internet access, who did not have that technology aspect. And we did over 1,000 tablets. In our annual report, you'll be able to find it online at our website, but we did over 1,000 tablets in terms of trying to help students be able to not only have a tablet, but to have access, because we put a data plan with that. We had with that solar charges, because we still had children, especially in Abaco, who did not have electricity, because as you know, the grid there took a serious hit. And so we were able to provide those children not only with tablets, but with a data plan as well as with solar chargers, so that they could be able to access the virtual school that had been put in place by the government, as well as some teachers who were trying to do things with their students online. And so we've been busy with that. We have an agriculture thing that's about to kick off right now in terms of trying to help with the food security issues in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, and trying to help persons be able to do their own community gardening so that they could be able to supply themselves. We had a whole water reverse osmosis plan that was going in terms of providing water in Grand Bahama because the water table had been contaminated. We had the whole issue in terms of giving backpacks to students to be able to get them the supplies they needed to get back in school. So there's been a lot that has been going on and still is going on. And so we're just so ecstatic and we're just so happy that we're able to be involved in helping people to rebuild their lives back again to some level of normalcy so at least they can continue to move on.
That is wonderful. That's great. You mentioned a moment ago that some of this and some of the report with respect to ADRA can be found on your website. Can you give us the address pertaining to the website, and just in case any of our viewers would like to view it?
Yeah, and I'm sure it'll be there on the screen, but it's www.adra.bs. You will be able to go there and find a lot more that we're not able to even talk about in our time together. Go to the Facebook page, go to the Instagram page, and it'll be able to share with you a lot more information that we'll be able to do together in our time right now.
That is great, because we know that the more informed not only our members but the public is with respect to the work that ADRA Bahamas is doing, then even when appeals are made, they will more than likely be willing to give because they can see how it's being utilized. And with that, we can say, or you can say, that ADRA Bahamas is making an indelible difference here in the Bahamas and really meeting needs that exist here within the Bahamas.
You know, Pastor Smith, it's really being able to make an impact in the lives of individuals so they can live the way God intended for them to live. We talk about our motto is justice, love, compassion, meaning that everybody should have equal access in terms of justice, love. Well, you got to love everybody if you want to really see God, and compassion, making sure that you're not just are sorry about what somebody's going through, but you do something about it, and being able to talk with individuals when you hear their stories in terms of how they're so thankful for what it is that has been received. Our communications manager was dealing with the distribution in terms of some tablets and was relating with a number of the parents, and one of them literally just broke down because she was so thankful for the fact that now her child has a device just to be able to access education. When you have heartfelt stories like that, when you have families who are living in tents, but now that they have the opportunity to at least have a roof over their head. We had a family in one of the islands. I don't want to call it because I don't want to try and put people on blast like that, if you understand what I'm saying. But we had a family in one of the particular areas we were working with. They were just so appreciative of the fact that now they have a roof over their head again, and they don't have to be in the tent anymore. When you hear heartfelt stories like this from individuals who are so grateful for what has happened, you recognize that one life, that what you did in that one situation, it made a significant difference in the life of that one person. And that's what ADRA is about. We're about trying to make a difference in the lives of individuals. And the thing about it is, I know sometimes there are persons who believe, well, you should favor this one over the other one. What we do is we make sure that first and foremost, we deal with the most vulnerable. So it's not about whether you're a particular religion. It's not about whether you're a particular gender. It's not about whether you have a particular belief. We give service irrespective of that. Once you find yourself in an area that's been impacted by a disaster, we come in and based on the most vulnerable, we seek to help as best as we can. Now, we can't do everything. I wish right now we could have $50 million, we could be able to do some amazing things in terms of helping put some people's lives back together. But we can't do everything. And that's why this thing is about partnership. And so we've been able to partner with the Disaster Reconstruction Agency. We've been able to partner with one of the other NGOs, GER Cube. We've been able to partner with the Moore Foundation. We've been able to partner with the TK Foundation. We've been able to partner with UNICEF. We've been able to get some other partners so that we together can be able to build this thing back again. Like I say, the best thing at the end of the day is the stories, the heartfelt stories from individuals who have really been touched by this. And that's what it's all about, touching lives. And so when people partner with us, even in terms of their in-kind or their financial donations, what they are doing is that they are touching lives and helping to change somebody's life one person at a time.
So, as you mentioned with respect to partnership, it highlights again that ADRA Bahamas does not work in a vacuum, but that there is a connection, local partnership as well as international partnerships?
That is it. It's disaster relief and development is not about competition. It's about partnership. It's about working together so that you could do the best for the individuals who've been impacted. And so we don't look at this as we're the only actor in this whole humanitarian situation. We're one of many actors, and all of us come together to try and make the best for each other. And that's important because you want to make sure that you avoid duplication, because you don't want the same persons getting the relief and then there are other persons who need it that they're not getting relief. And so it's important that we work not only together locally but internationally. And like I said, there are a number of persons who have partnered with us. They're not local, they're international as well. And as you know, ADRA is an international office in terms of ADRA Bahamas is just one of the 135 plus network offices that ADRA International operates around the world. And the good thing about that is that even when something happens, all in a disaster, you have various network offices from ADRA's perspective that come together to help with a disaster. It happened here in Hurricane Dorian, and it's even right now happening with another disaster that's happened with a neighbor to the south of us. Something that we've been involved in as well, which is amazing because we're a new office and we're now beginning to try to help somebody else just like others have helped us. So it's working together with partners both locally as well as internationally to be able to help individuals.
Wonderful. Now, we may have some new viewers that are tuning into us, and we use that acronym pertaining to ADRA, which in actuality stands for Adventist Development and Relief Agency, correct?
The Adventist Development, and Relief Agency, which is the humanitarian arm of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. And so
Wonderful.
it is our humanitarian arm that seeks to reach out to help other individuals, irrespective of whether they're irrespective of what religion they are, irrespective of what belief, because we believe that we're here to help persons. Yes, we end up helping Adventists. Yes, we help non-Adventists, but the bottom line is we help the most vulnerable, irrespective of who you are, because we don't come asking in terms of what your religion may be. We don't come asking in terms of what your philosophical beliefs may be. We don't ask in terms of what your political persuasion may be. That is not our role. Our role is to find the most vulnerable in impacted areas in these times of disaster. We also do development, but in times of disaster in particular, to find individuals who have been impacted, the most vulnerable, and seek to help them based on sometimes the criteria that's given to us by donors, because sometimes persons don't understand that. They think that, well, you have all of this money, so you should be able just to help everybody else. But sometimes donors give funds with stipulations in regards, like case in point, they want to help persons in education, or maybe they want to help persons, they want to help single mothers. And so all of that has to be taken into consideration when we're talking about relief and helping individuals. But we seek to do the best we can with what we've been given to try to help the most as possible so they could live the way God intended.
Okay, great. We know that disasters are no respecter of persons, location, or country. And when we come back from a break, we're going to take a short break right now, and then when we come back, we want you, if you can, just to give us a little update of ADRA's response to what happened there to one of our neighbors, one of the neighboring islands to the south, there in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And we want to just know how ADRA responded, because that's their time. We had our time pertaining to Dorian, and we never know what's around the corner. So we're going to return in just a few moments, once again, to Voices, a media production of the Atlantic Caribbean Union. The General Conference of Seventh-day Adventists hosts the first ever Adventist Virtual Global Camp Meeting, May the 19th to the 23rd, 2021. The Adventist Virtual Global Camp Meeting features hundreds of presentations, seminars, and workshops on discipleship, education, health ministries, media, missions, theology. There will be roundtable discussions with church leaders, continuing education credits for pastors and teachers, exhibit hall with Adventist organizations sharing their resources for mission. The attendance for this first Adventist Virtual Global Camp Meeting is free. 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 Please visit campmeeting.com. That's campmeeting.com to register and see scheduling. Adventist Virtual Global Camp Meeting, May 19 to the 23rd. You don't want to miss it. See you there. Welcome back. Once again, we have with us today Dr. Henry Munker, the director of ADRA Bahamas, the Adventist Development Relief Agency. Before we went to break, we mentioned that a disaster is no respecter of person, of country, of religion, or anything like that. It hits, and it doesn't care who it hits or when it hits. And recently, in one of our southern islands, as you know, the Grenadines, the St. Vincent and the Grenadines, they were devastated by a volcano eruption. But we're thankful that ADRA responded. And we're going to ask Pastor Munker if he can just give us some information, some update as to how ADRA Bahamas and even ADRA International responded to that disaster. Pastor Munker.
You know, as you and the viewers are aware, Pastor Smith, like you said, about 2 weeks ago, thereabouts, St. Vincent and the Grenadines to the south of us, they had that volcanic eruption that impacted the entire island, 160,000 persons impacted. And the good thing is ADRA is not only local, because we're the local NGO affiliate of ADRA, the Adventist Development Relief Agency in the Bahamas, but it's a global network. And as soon as that disaster came in, the global network, we kicked in. And we started a feeding program that's right now been ramped up to 1,200 meals a day. That's what's being worked on right now. And so twice a day, they're feeding individuals who are in shelters as a result of the hurricane. And there is some more relief that's planned as things begin to settle out a little bit more, because as you know, there's always the initial aspect of a disaster, but then there's the medium and the long-term recovery. And so even here in the Bahamas, our ADRA affiliate, we've had out an ADRA appeal for St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And the good thing is, Pastor Smith, I would like to tell you, this is the first appeal that ADRA Bahamas has done in regards to any disaster. And the good thing is we've already had funding that started to come in towards this, that we're putting a part of the network response for St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And there are persons who may be watching who may want to say, well, how do I do this? Like I said, you go to our website, www.adra.bs/donate, and you can find all the information in terms of how you can give towards this, whether you could give it online, in terms of mailing it to us. You could call us and we'll come pick it up. You could even drop it off by our office, but there's various sets of, there are diverse sets of avenues, that you could be able to share in this appeal. Like I said, last time it was us in Hurricane Dorian, and when Hurricane Dorian came our way, we were happy the ADRA network showed up, and they really showed out in force in terms of giving us the needed assistance to be able to do what we're doing. And so now, even though we're small, even though we're still a small office and we're not a big office, we still believe that we could do something to be able to help our neighbors, because next time around, it may be us again. And if it's us again, we surely want someone to come to our aid. So we're trying to do the best we can. So we know there are persons who have a heart for being able to share with others. And so we want to encourage you to be able to reach out and give to this appeal. We have a video online that shares exactly what it's about. We have a blog online that shares what it's about. We're constantly updating the situation in terms of the various reports coming out. But this is an opportunity for persons to be able to help someone else, to be able to help that situation there in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And ADRA's network is right there involved in trying to bring relief on the ground. In fact, the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines came into the section where ADRA had the setup, and he was just thanking them for exactly what they've been doing in trying to help in this situation. And so your donations would go right to help individuals in St. Vincent, the Grenadines, who've been impacted by that volcano disaster. Even though we're still doing work here in the Bahamas, we still have a project we're looking to do in Abaco in terms of putting some shells together for some persons who've lost their homes, still living in tents. And so you could donate towards that. If you say, I want to really help some persons locally, yet we still have a project in terms of trying to put 4 walls, windows, doors, and a roof on, so persons can at least move into something, come out of the tent and be able to live in at least something that they have, so that they could begin to build their lives back together.
You know, Pastor Monka, what I further like about this here is, yes, the caring aspect, the response that has transpired, but also the way by which governments and countries and citizens develop a positive perspective with regards to the work that the Adventist Church, the Adventist organization, the broader aspect of Adventism is taking place. It helps to break down barriers. It helps to also show that we are fulfilling that which Christ pointed out both in, Matthew chapter 25 as well as Isaiah chapter 58. There is this social response, this need response, which is critical, and it's part and parcel also of the everlasting gospel. It helps to also, I think, fulfill the 3 angels' messages of Revelation 14. It's doing it in a very tangible, meaningful way. What would you say?
No, I'm glad you mentioned that, Pastor Smith, because sometimes I think there's the notion to believe that the gospel is simply just about the 10 commandments, or the gospel, even from the Seventh-day Adventists our beliefs that it's just about the Sabbath or it's just about the beast. But there is a social aspect to the gospel. When you look at Jesus's life, what you notice with Jesus is that even before he got to calling people to follow him, he dealt with their needs. He dealt with what was going on in their situations, because the reality is, if a person is hungry, it's going to be hard for you to really talk to them about, hey, you need to follow Jesus. But when you show people Jesus' love in action, that makes a whole lot of a difference. And then that causes individuals to inquire even more, well, why are you being like this? In fact, when you look in the Bible, even Jesus himself talked about when the children of Israel came out of Egypt, and somehow the Bible says they were supposed to be nice to the stranger, so that the stranger would ask, well, why in the world are you doing this? And they were supposed to say, well, because God brought us out of Egypt with a high hand, and since God was good to us, we're going to be good to you. And so there is a social component to the gospel. There is a fact that we have to be able to reach ministers' lives. In fact, there's one writer who said it best: Christ's method alone is the one that will reach people. The Savior mingled with men as one who desired their good, showed his sympathy for them, won their confidence. And then after that, he said, follow me. And so if we're going to follow Christ, we're going to have to be able to make sure that we first and foremost are able to minister to people on the periphery, minister to people who may not be in our circle, minister to people who may not be a part of our clique or our crew, and understand that we do it not to get them to buy into necessarily our philosophy or even our religious practices, but simply just to do it because that's how Christ deals with people.
Amen. Wonderful. That is part of the essence of love.
Yeah, because the reality is, and I think it's important for us to understand, if you're only going to do something for somebody because you're expecting something back from them in return, it's best you don't do it. Because that's not what ministry is about. Ministry means I can even give this and do this for you. Even if you reject what I may want you to believe, I'm still going to do this for you. Why? Because I love you. And since God loves me, I want to share that love with you as well. Irrespective of whether you want to believe the way I believe, irrespective of whether you want to think the way I think, I'm doing it because of a heart of love. And I'm not expecting nothing in return. And that's one of the things what happens in humanitarian work. Because one of the things we always tell our workers, you're giving individuals something. They should not have to pay to get what we're giving them. They should not have to believe that they have to do something in order for us to be able to give what they're going to get. They need to recognize they are getting this because of the love we have, because of the compassion we have, because we want to do justice to every individual so they live the way God intended for them to live.
Great, wonderful. Here we are at the first week in the month of May in this 2021 year. Right around the corner is June. And when we hit June, we enter into another hurricane season. Is there anything that you would like to share with us to remind us about? Because we're close, once again, to that time of the year.
You know, you say June, but actually what is happening now is even though the official season begins June 1, they really start watching from May 1 because hurricanes now are coming earlier and they're becoming more deadlier. And I guess that's a whole another theological aspect, but we're not going to deal with that. But they really start watching from May 1. And so what I would suggest to persons watching now is the time for you to begin your hurricane preparations. Now is the time for you to start doing some research in terms of looking at the risks that may be in your community and making sure that if something happens, you're able to know how to prepare for that. We have something coming up called disaster risk reduction and resilience, and that's something for educators and clergy. If you want to be a part of that, you could check out, call us at our office or get us online and we could talk about that. But now's the time for persons to look at how they can mitigate if a disaster happens in the area. Now's the time for them to look around their homes and begin to make sure, for those who may not be in the ravaged areas of the northern Bahamas especially, but for those who may be, look around your homes and see what stuff you need to make sure that you take care of and batten down and repair as best as possible so that you don't put your home at a greater risk. Now it's the time to put emergency together. On our site, we have a whole page that lists the number of tips in terms of various emergency kits that you can put together in terms of water kit, in terms of a shelter kit, in terms of a food kit, to make sure that you have at least 3 to 5 days worth of preparation in the event a disaster happens, that you can be able to take care of yourself before help is able to get into your area. And then it's important to make sure you stay informed. Make sure that you continue to watch the alerts that are coming out and be able to make sure that you keep yourself apprised of what's happening, and then to share that information with other persons in your community. But now is the time, I think persons need to understand through our region here in the Bahamas, and as you know, the Atlantic Caribbean Union covers the Cayman Islands and the Turks and Caicos, and even in those areas because they're impacted by hurricanes as well. So now is the time to make sure you do your preparation, because when the disaster happens, prepare is a little bit too late.
Okay. Now, you mentioned also a moment ago, as you were going through this area of preparation, you highlighted disaster risk reduction and resilience. Evidently, there's going to be a kind of training program that is forthcoming even in this month of May. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, this is a pilot program, like you say, that's being able to put in place in terms of helping not only to know what to do in a disaster, but things in terms of mitigating it as well. And it's a self-paced program that's going to be done. Right now it's pilot, like we said, for educators in terms of teachers in school as well as for clergy. And so the purpose of it is a trainer of trainers program. So we will train persons and they can then go back in the community and help others, because what we want to do as we work in partnership with the Ministry of Education and some other entities in government, what we want to do is create a culture of preparedness within our communities, a culture of resilience and mitigation against disaster. And so persons can be a part of this in the education, the clergy sphere, bring their teams, have their teams trained, it's certified. And this is a part of what hopes to be a larger program that's going to come after the pilot phase in terms of being able to help create this culture within our local setting.
Okay, great. So this pilot program will be in this month of May. Is there any specific dates yet, or we'll be able to find out on the website or?
you go on the website. It begins towards the end of May. It's open for a 2-week period. And at the end of that 2-week period, then there's just a simple little assessment in terms of making sure that persons give their feedback in terms of how they've gone through it, so that we can know how to tweak it for the larger program. So they could go right on the website, www.adra.bs. They could call our office, and I'm sure the number is there scrolling on the screen in regards to our office number. They could email us at cm.adra.bs or programs@adra.bs, and they could be able to get all the other information in regards to how they could be a part of it as well.
Okay, great. Well, Pastor Manka, the time is just about leaped away from us, but it goes so fast. It's been so enjoyable,
So fast.
very informative. You've shared plenty with us, which we greatly appreciate. We have to have you back more often as things continue to unfold. Because I know that there's so much to share with us pertaining to ADRA. But in these closing moments, is there anything further you would like to close off with?
Yeah, like Sebastian, you said about that, there's so much more we could share. But what I simply want to say to individuals is, if you want to be a part of service, you want to be a part of ministry, we offer the opportunity here in ADRA for you to get involved. You could get involved in volunteering. You could get involved in terms of your in-kind donations. You get involved in terms of your financial donations. But the key about it is, real opportunity for ministry, for service, to be able to touch the lives of individuals. And if you want to be a part of something where you can see lives touched and transformed and changed in terms of helping to make a difference in the lives of people, we invite you to join us. Check us out online and make sure that whatever you do, that you do it all for the honor and glory of God.
Well, Dr. Manka, thank you so very much again for being with us in this episode of Voices. And this has been Voices, a media production of the Atlantic Caribbean Union, servicing the Bahamas, the Cayman Islands, and the Turks and Caicos Islands. Thank you very much for having allowed us to enter into your homes, or even if you're moving about in your car on the road, on your smart devices. It's just been so wonderful to have shared with you today. And we pray that God will continue to abundantly bless you.